next. I'd like to welcome Josh. If you guys have not seen, Juno is they were the virtual event partner for PCMA Convening Leaders, one of those awesome events. And they have served a wide range of communities from emergency room physicians. I think I need to learn more about this, to landscape professionals. Josh, thank you so much for taking some time to join us today.
Of course, Liz. Thanks for having me. Thrilled to be here.
I have heard a lot about Juno, so I'm looking forward to an opportunity to learn more and then evaluate it as well for our clients. But let me let you take it off with your slides. I'm going to show them, and then I'll circle back and answer as many questions as we can possibly fit in here.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for making time. Hey, listen, one of the things that gets us excited is community. And I'm a community guy. I've been building community-based software for 12 years. Started in the CSR space. We built a company that mobilized over 1 million global employees from GoPro, Estee Lauder, Staples, the NFL, to give time and energy back to their global communities. I went on with CrowdHub to build gaming and community platforms for education and betterment. And when COVID happened, a lot of our clients said, would you take your community and your gaming concepts and go virtual? And so we did. We started Juno. And what really got us excited is this notion of community. And I think in order to understand community, sometimes we have to retrace our steps. We have to look back and go, what is it that makes connection happen? And so our next slide will show sometimes you just have to go back and go, what are all the places where we meet? You know, at a main stage or a breakout, when we physically would sit next to somebody and go, I'm sorry, what's your name? Is anybody sitting here? From coffee breaks to strategic networking, trade shows, et cetera. And what really got us excited is the next slide, which really asks this question: how do we take these moments of in-person and virtual and create intersections of connectivity? That's what we believe in. We believe in intersections of connectivity, which sounds cool, but the question comes, how do you identify those and create them and sustain them and monetize them? And that's really what Juno is in the business of doing. We really, really do believe, and if you want to go to the next slide again, we really believe in creating these from the living room to the ballroom experiences. And so we know that like everybody's got this phone, right? It's called a second screen experience. In fact, most of you right now are probably experiencing a second screen. You're probably watching this and doing something else. And we understand that in future state, whether you're physically somewhere and that's your first screen experience, your phone will always be your second, or you're virtual and your laptop is your first screen, your phone is your second screen. And so what we know is that by creating these second screen experiences and allowing people to connect, whether they're in their living room or whether they're in a ballroom, if they can connect to one another, they can really begin to create, which is our next slide. I want to talk about this because I think this is really important. We can all get on here and show our platforms, and we all pretty much have the same features, and we have all of our own streaming and security and networks, et cetera. But this is what I want to talk about today. Understanding that intersections and network density is what this is all about. So think pre-COVID. You've got one-to-one networking, and then you move into low network density, and now we move into high network density. So what does that mean? It means this: before COVID started, we had a lot of one-on-one connections, and that was fine. It was one-to-one. As COVID came in, there became a greater adoption of technology and smarter technology, where we could start to get one-on-one and then maybe some group things. But where things get really interesting is when we get into really creating high network density environments. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how you do that. If you go to the next slide, no matter what platform you use and no matter what direction you go in, think about 4 things. The power of user identity tags. The more you know about your user, then you can go into the second thing, which is network bridges. What are network bridges? They're either physical or digital, but they're pathways for people to go from separated to together. And then when you get them together, you create one-on-one and one-to-many relationships, and that creates high network density. And that's what Juno is in the business of doing, is learning as much as we can about our people, creating bridges for networking, one-on-one, one-to-many, and creating these high network density environments. If you want to go to the next slide, we'll show you how we do that. When a user onboards, they declare to us what they're interested in. These are my macro and my micro interests. But then something happens. As users get on Juno, they start to discover a bunch of things. And all those declared and discovered tags go on our users. It wraps around them as a user profile so that we can do three things. We can return to them content, experiences, and people using AI. So that it gets really fun when you go, wait a minute, when we begin to know about you, we can begin to direct you to networking bridges, create these one-to-one and one-to-many experiences all around the things that interest you most. How do we do that? The next slide. This is our notion. With permissions, when you can collect data, you can connect people. And those are things that really get us excited. So how do you feel? How do you behave? What are your discovered interests and your declared interests? And then how do we use that to build your network, help you discover new experiences and education, and even richer exchanges for buyers and sellers? So what we've really understood is data and connection is the game, not just beautiful UI and UX, which we all hope that we have and offer to clients, and not just all the fun tools, but really smart, intelligent, long-term stuff. Next slide. Everything to us is about onboarding. So what are you interested in? And here's something I really want you to think about. What am I interested in? But this is so important. What is it that you want from this experience? But what is it that you want to give to it? I think far too often we always think, how can we give to our audience? And we forget that each and every one of those people have so much to give. So many of them are proficient at things that would help other people be successful. Okay, next slide. When somebody onboards, I'll just quickly show you some parts of the platform. Everything's configurable in Juno, so you can move parts around. We have the live home experience where we do full video and interactive tools. Next slide. You can just see that once somebody's in, we drive all these contents using network effect to them, content, experiences, people. And then the next slide, since we only have a few minutes, we have two engines that run all the time, trending and recommended. The trending engine is what's everybody excited about and doing. And the recommended is what are the people, the experiences, and the content that are gonna matter most to you. We wanna give you those. Your recommendation engines on the next slide will always be delivering people to you all throughout the process. So you always wanna be checking back in and saying, who are the new people that I need to know? Of course, the next slide, Juno has everything that you'd imagine, all of your live streaming, that we have our own streaming service as well that can connect with people. Next slide, all of your exhibitors, and everything that we talk about is Exhibitor Suites. We don't want to think about booths. We want to think about suites because you want to give people an experience, not a transactional environment. And finally, if you go to the next slide, real-time data and analytics, not just for our users, but for all of our exhibitors too. Wouldn't it be great to know who's on your platform in real time? Wouldn't it be great to know what they're interested in, what they're doing? So Juno offers real-time platform analytics to all of our users, as well as real-time knowing what's going on. And we'll skip to our final couple of slides here real quick, is just from matchmaking, monetization, videos, engagement, and insights. Juno's got you covered. Our final slide, we want to talk to you too. So if you want this deck and you want to learn more about how to build high network density, because it's so important, reach out to us, download our slide. We'd love to talk to you more. How do we do, Liz?
That was amazing. And, I agree with Monica here, who says you have great speaking presence and energy. It's clear that you love what you do, which is really, really important. I have so many questions for you in a good way. And I do see some coming in from our audience. So I want to remind you that if you're watching, you have some questions, put them in the chat wherever you're watching, we'll get to them. I really love your focus on this community piece. And there was a comment earlier in the day about, we want to see what the platform looks like. But to your point, there's only so much platform you can see. What you really need to do is hone in on the pieces that matter for your audience. And I think this piece of community, especially as COVID has separated people and now everyone's dying to get back together, it's really important as we look to hybrid, et cetera. I don't have to make the case to you, obviously, I'm sure you know. Tell us a little bit about this data permissions. There was a question from a Facebook user about what you can get from LinkedIn, how you get these permissions. I think as soon as people start using that fancy word, artificial intelligence, or talking about privacy, people get a little scared, but it's actually so powerful. So I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and so I like what you first talked about, listen, I've been in software sales for 12 years, and At the end of every RFP, there's always 3 companies that are all awesome, that are going to be great for the client. And I've watched a few of these here before me, and these are great companies and doing great things, and no one's going to be steered wrong. The question is philosophy. Yeah. The question is, what is at the core center and the epicenter of why you do what you do? And for us, it's community. It really is connecting people. And so one of the things that's big on Juno is multiple permissions. So from the time that you onboard, you're going, what am I going to give permissions to and not? Even to when you get on exhibitor pages, anytime that we expose your data, we ask you, are you okay with that? We ask you multiple times. So unlike one of those things where we ask you one general and a million long lines of content, no, we want to really make sure that you understand and we understand that your data is private, and you should be able to give permissions multiple times throughout an experience when we may be exposing your data to somebody new that you didn't realize.
That's really critical, because we all know no one is reading that long list of permissions, terms and conditions that they click off on. Mary had a question about how long it takes on average for an attendee to complete that onboarding process where they're giving all their topics of interest. And is this like a 90-minute process, or how does that work?
No, you know what? It's 3 questions. It's what are you interested in? What do you want to get? And what do you want to give? Those are the 3 questions we ask all the time, because we want to triangulate that. And then the fun part is you can go in post sign up, and you can go actually turn more tags on if you want to be more discoverable. So if you get there and go, gosh, I want to get some more leads generated, I want to get my network growing more, you can actually go in and click more tags, become more discoverable, and keep going.
That's awesome. Okay. And then can you tell us a little bit about kind of packages, pricing, structure in general? It doesn't have to be, I know the numbers change daily and are based on 1,000, I would imagine 1,000 parameters.
Sure. So like most of the groups, look, we're looking at a couple of things: how many people, how many sessions, how many days. And then like everybody's also said, like, we understand the power of year-round engagement. So once you get somebody that says, hey, I want to make this a part of our ecosystem and the things that we do. And, Juno offers full LMS, full member networking, full live streaming. You got to remember, we were a community-based platform for a decade. So, some of our clients include HP and United Nations that we're helping training and development. So the more, users have the ability to do a micro conference or a macro experience or a 365 bundle of all of their LMSs, all their member management, et cetera, et cetera.
All of our clients seem to be going that direction. It's crazy. They went from the one annual conference a year to full year-round community, which I think is so interesting. It's kind of that pull from social media and those traditional platforms and into these more secure places. I had shared earlier that, we're doing this event free for the whole community, and some random person commented with some link to a credit card thing and they were just trying to take people's money. Like that's what can happen on social media. And so when you come into these safer environments, I think everyone is really about this community piece. So I'm so glad that you focused on this. In terms of, can you just go into a little more detail on the kind of more standard features that people would be looking for? So like exhibitor, speaker experience, a little bit on that.
Yeah. So listen, people are using Juno for their main stage, breakouts, exhibitors, posters, networking environments. We have a thing called Cohorts, where our system using AI can randomly select people that have things in common, put them in a learning journey. You can actually learn and study content together during the conference, because our machine found out that you guys all have all these things, whether it's geo or interest-based. So we can say, hey, there's 19 of you in San Diego that all love leadership. You should look at these 3 courses or these 3 pieces of content together over the next 30 minutes. Think about the power of that. That's called network density. That's when all of a sudden you said, we've made a network with multiple connection points and made it more dense and more strong. And for associations, meetings, and events, they need to be making stronger network density so that they can have more ROI on their business.
Yeah, that's so powerful. So powerful.
Gosh, Liz, I could talk for so long on this. You didn't give me enough time.
I know there's never enough time, but this is a really good feature on, what people should know about Juno. What's going to draw them to Juno as compared to, a billion different options at this point out there. It's not about how many options there are. It's about that point that you mentioned, just what is the philosophy of the company you're working with, and does that align with what you're looking to do as an event? Any exciting things down the pipeline that you guys have coming out that you want to kind of tease for our audience? We won't hold you to release dates, but
One of the biggest things that we're really excited about is real-time interactions. So a lot of platforms, you have to refresh or you have to go different places. We're going to be what we're releasing is all real-time interactive, so you can see avatars of who's on what page and what they're doing. And so the time of reduction is so important. And so some things we're really excited about is launching those. We're doing a full thing. Our 365 experiences we're really, really excited about because it's going to allow people to take, even if they're at a physical event, take all of their learnings, relationships, and move ongoing. So more of our learning, more of our engaging, our networking bridges that we're building, we're really excited about.
Awesome. I didn't mean to cover your face with that very good comment, but it's a really good comment and question that we don't have time for today. But I know Dana's in the chat from your team. I would love for you to jump in there. I just think the results of this networking and what that means for selling tickets and getting people interested was such a good comment. I didn't mean to block your whole face with it. But thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of this. I think it's a really interesting platform for people to check out. And this, like I've said 10 times already, that connectivity that you're talking about is what everyone is talking about and what will be so critical 21, 22, 23 and beyond. So thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Liz, thank you for your leadership and just your support of everyone. Appreciate it.